Yo, Pierre, you want to come out here?
There's a warrant for your arrest. We're going to take you to the jail. I told your mom that she can contact a bondsman.
A tearful teen is taken into custody after committing brutal crimes against girls he dated. He may look meek in police body camera footage, but police say he assaulted, raped, and even strangled fellow teenagers. And a surprise sweetheart deal took his prison term from a possible 70 years down to 0. We're taking a closer look at how the teen and his mom reacted to police taking him into custody. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
Oh, hell no. Give him life, goddammit.
Hey, before we get into this episode of On the Case, I want to talk about our partner and sponsor, Upside. This is a free app that gives you cash back when you buy daily essentials like gas and groceries.
Yeah. Get out of here.
A high school baseball player's name and face are now known across the
roll you up
country,
one of them things,
and it's not for good. In August, 18-year-old Jesse Mack Butler of Stillwater, Oklahoma, entered a no-contest plea to 11 heinous charges, including rape, attempted forced oral sodomy, and more. He was staring down a nearly 80-year prison sentence, but in a shocking twist, the court agreed to grant Butler youthful offender status, and instead of going to prison, Butler went home with instructions on how to complete counseling and community service requirements. Butler's exact treatment plan, it's sealed in the court record, but the district attorney's office released this statement, quote, "The youthful offender sentence imposed against Jesse Butler requires him to complete his rehabilitation plan successfully, including an aggressive schedule of therapy with a specialist in sex offender treatment, and should he fail, he faces reclassification as an adult and a sentence of 10 years in prison."
The judge needs his ass beat. Are we for real? So he commits all these heinous crimes to these high school women. He EPAR them and get them to do all this freaky nasty stuff, and we let this nigga go sit down with a sex therapist. What has the world come to?
The change in punishment sent shockwaves through the community. It devastated the two girls who had gone to school officials to report what Butler had done to them. A mom of one of the victims told the outlet Tulsa World.
Bro, that's literally a spit in the face to them. Not to keep cutting him off, I'm gonna let it play. That's literally a spit in the face to them. They were assaulted in the worst way. And you let him go home and go sit down and speak to a therapist as opposed to having him suffer real consequences for his actions? So what do you think is going to happen once he walks across the stage and grabs his diploma and he becomes an adult? Then he's just going to turn into a serial freaky man. This is ridiculous, bro. He don't even need to be breathing. And on top of that, he did this to women that he was dating. These were girls that he was dating. It wasn't like he was just rolling up on Randy. Even that would be that's still horrible. But you're doing this to women you were dating. You were supposed to be taking care of these women and treating them right. Instead, you were assaulting them in the worst way, and y'all let him walk. To me, that's more messed up than doing it to somebody random. Random, it ain't no feelings involved. Still crazy as hell. But I sort of kind of see the motive in a sense. But that's literally a spit in the face to those women. I hope they doing all right. Damn, bro.
That the families were completely against youthful offender status from the beginning and said that it was their understanding that the prosecutor trying this case would not accept a deal like that. Photos have been released showing one of the victims in the hospital after apparently repeated assaults by Butler. The victim's family says she ended up needing surgery because of severe damage to a vein in her neck. There are calls for the judge who approved Butler's deal. Special judge.
Oh, that's why. She looks just like this funny looking ass nigga. Probably felt bad. This makes sense. And why the fuck she look like Kanye West in that one music video with YNW Melly, where they had them big boxy ass Lego clothes on?
Susan Worthington to be reprimanded.
Is she this huge?
For okaying this deal. Now, in just a moment, I'll talk.
Let's do that.
Calls for the judge approved Butler's deal. Special judge Susan Worthington to be reprimanded or removed for okaying this deal.
Yeah,
Now, in just a
get her
moment,
out of
I'll talk
there.
to a judge who has advocated for youthful offender programs to discuss whether this one is a step too far. But first, I want to let you know what 2 official affidavits have to say about Butler's behavior and how he reacted when he found out he'd actually be taken into custody. According to the first affidavit, a 16-year-old identified by her initials LS told a school resource officer in September of 2024 that she dated Jesse Butler for a few months earlier in the year, and that during that time he physically and sexually assaulted her multiple times, including trying to rape her inside his car outside an ice cream shop the previous February. The affidavit reads, quote, LS reported she yelled and told him no repeatedly and tried to push him off of her, but was unable to overpower him.
No.
LS reported Butler told her he was sorry for what he had to do, but he had to do it. LS recalled hyperventilating because Butler intended to have sexual intercourse with her and she did not want to. According to LS, a woman must have heard her screaming because she walked up to the car and interrupted them. LS told police that Butler told her that if the police came, they would both be in trouble. He reportedly took her back to his home where her car was parked and tried to rape her again. The affidavit reads, quote, LS told Butler she needed to get home, but Butler pulled her on top of him and told her, you're not going until I'm finished. She said she was able to get away and go home, but this wasn't the only time that an adult may have witnessed Butler trying to assault LS. The teen says that she was at the Butler home in their movie room when Butler took his clothes off and tried to have sex with her. She says Butler's mom came to the door asking if everything was okay, but the affidavit doesn't say anything else about her reaction to what she might have seen or heard. In late February of 2020,
Yeah, because she's aiding in it.
Butler reportedly strangled her because she refused to have sex with him.
I told you, that's what that's from.
Ellis reported she was hyperventilating and then recalled her vision being blurry and she was dizzy. She reported her head immediately hurt and she was confused about what had occurred. She was scared of Butler, but when she regained consciousness, Butler was laughing at her. Following this incident, Ellis reported she had a handprint and an injury on her neck. Butler and LS apparently broke up in March 2024, and he started dating a girl identified as KS, and his disturbing and aggressive behavior allegedly continued. A second affidavit details the assaults KS says she suffered during the relationship. Quote, KS reported Butler had left bruises on her hips from squeezing her so tightly. KS reported the intercourse was extremely aggressive, but she reported she quickly stopped fighting it because Butler would overpower her and hurt her to get his way. KS explained that she learned what to and what not to do to avoid being hurt by Butler. According to KS, Butler would pin her down and she was physically unable to get him off of her. KS stated this would often lead her to hyperventilate, which Butler thought was funny. According to the affidavit, Butler also strangled KS so long that she eventually passed out. She reported she woke up on the floor of the living room in a home where she was house sitting. She claims Butler was livid that she wouldn't have sex with him in someone else's home, so she says he raped her instead. Later that same week, KS reported that Butler choked her again, and it's for a sick reason. The affidavit says, quote, KS stated Butler told her he wanted to strangle her so he could film it on his phone. And if you can believe it, police found that video on Butler's phone, which showed him choking KS until she passed. KS stated Butler told her he wanted to strangle her so he could film it on his phone. And if you can believe it, police found that video on Butler's phone, which showed him choking KS until she passed out. Butler was charged in March 2025 with 10 counts, and 11th was eventually...
How in the fuck did this nigga not get jail time? This bitch, if she don't lose her job, bro, if she don't lose her job, I hope somebody smoke her. I don't give a fuck. You can say what you want to say. If she don't lose her job, I hope somebody smoke her.
Tacked on when he reportedly violated a protective order. Now, we got our hands on body camera footage from Stillwater police that shows officers arriving at the Butler home and taking the teary-eyed young man into custody.
We're ready to obviously tell our story too.
Yeah.
Fuck your
Yes,
mama
it's
too.
Mom. Open the door. It's me.
Spit in your mama's face.
And if you'll
I ain't
just
even
have
that type of
him
nigga,
step
bro. I'm
out.
really
Okay.
not. But I know your mama's a weird one too.
Give me your
I spit in her
Wallet
face
and
for the shit that you did to them girls. I'd spit in your mama's
what?
face.
They're in the car. Well, okay, it's fine.
I would.
It's not locked or anything, is it? Okay. So,
And I don't even get out like
Can
that.
you tell him what you just told me?
I swear to God I'm not. I swear to God I'm not. I don't even get out like that. But for the first time in my life, I would do some grimy ass shit like that. Like spit in his mama's face. All in her face.
Yeah, so we're here. We're obviously going to place you under arrest. There's a warrant for your arrest. We're going to take you to the jail. I told your mom that she can contact a bondsman, and you shouldn't be very long, but there just is a process for paperwork and stuff. But right now you do have to come with us, and I do have to put you in handcuffs, so turn around for me.
You have to put in handcuffs?
Yeah. Dummy. Yeah, that's what we do to criminals. We put them in handcuffs.
Yeah.
You probably got a record too. This
I'll
is
get you
ridiculous,
out.
bro.
For me?
Yeah, I'll get you
Stay
out.
silent. Rick knows about this. Candy's on this. Dad's on his way. We're coming to get you, okay? Just stay strong, okay? Say your prayers.
Okay, so we will. He's going to go
Whoever he
right to
pray
the
to,
city
I
Stillwater
hope they don't
jail,
hear
and
him.
if you'll just contact her, then she does this all the time. She knows what to do.
Yep.
Make sure
Okay.
she knows Stillwater Police Department, not a county.
Yeah.
Stillwater Police Department
We're the
on
ones-
Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them know that
perfect.
we're the ones that take him out.
And
they
when
don't-
you say we are the ones-
Stillwater PD.
Stillwater PD.
Yeah,
Okay.
that way they don't think he went like straight over and over the county.
How could you know that your son is doing stuff like this and be so supportive throughout the process of it? I do not understand. And there is evidence that he's done it. These aren't assumptions. He's done it. She talking about I get you out and woo.
Pat you down and spread your feet for me.
He definitely come from some money. They paid, his people paid somebody, because ain't no way he didn't go to jail. Somebody got paid. There's no way.
Butler was released on a $25,000 bond. When he entered his no contest plea over the summer, the mom of LS shared her victim impact statement online, and it says in part, quote, "I've had to carry this weight while going to school, trying to act like I'm okay. I've woken up from nightmares that make me feel like I'm being attacked."
Nigga, shut up.
It was a
I don't even care about your
understand that
statement.
Here about how this is even possible, because I will
this is a
Shepard, known on social media as Just in the Nick of Crime, who did some of the first reporting on this story.
This is the victim.
I don't know what you know. I don't know if you heard me crying through the
never- my
walls or
fault, my fault, my
noticed
fault.
how your son treated me when no one was looking. But I hope you hear this now. Your son hurt me in ways that cannot be undone, and I need you to understand that your silence, your protection of him, or even your denial, that would hurt too. Because someone
Exactly.
should have stopped this. Someone should have seen the bruises and the fear. My colleague, Law and Crime's Jesse Weber, recently sat down with Justin Shepard, known on social media as Just in the Nick of Crime, who did some of the first reporting on this story and spoke with people in Stillwater.
What have you learned here about how this is even possible? Because I will tell you, there is a lot of speculation online right now that the Butler family may have connections that may
What
have
I
helped
just say.
him get
What I
this
just
so-called
say.
sweetheart deal. We couldn't confirm that.
Come on, bro.
What can you tell us?
No way.
So I've spoken with some of the families as well of both victims who came forward against Jesse. There is a third victim who, if she hasn't come forward, can you blame her when you look at this as the justice that they get?
Another victim
So
that's
there's
not
a third
speaking
victim,
up.
and kind of like you said, the speculation.
And exactly, that right there proves what I said prior to this. There's a third victim who hasn't opened up her mouth and said anything because she's seen that when the other two women opened up their mouth and said something, nothing happened. So at that point, what is the purpose of her opening up her mouth and saying anything? Ain't shit gonna happen. You see what that does? So who's to know that there aren't 3, 4, 5, 6 other women who can make claims like this? This is bullshit,
Is that
bro.
Jesse Mack Butler's father is a man by the name of Mack Butler, and he was the head of football operations at OSU for I forget how many years, but for a pretty long time. He's kind of a staple in that community. And when we're talking about Stillwater, Oklahoma, we're talking about OSU. For people who don't know, Stillwater is the town that Oklahoma State University is in. So there's a lot of things tied to that. Mack Butler, it seems that he grew up there. His wife currently works for OSU. His daughter works for the public school system there.
Tacos at Zaxby's? You know it. They took their famous chicken fingers and sauced them up in a soft tortilla.
He was apparently had been hired as like a coach of some kind for Stillwater High School as well. So somebody with deep-rooted ties into the community, and that then leads you to the judge in this case, or one of the judges in this case, Judge Susan Worthington. Between her and her father, the Worthingtons have had a hold on that bench for over 50 years. So while you can't necessarily say definitively that, hey, there's this connection here because he's deep-rooted in football, she's a judge, they all grew up in the same town, that there's this kind of connection, but it's not really many.
Yes, we can. Why can't we? So if they're all rooted from the same place and they grew up and they're from the same town, they're all familiar with each other, and they're still all in the same vicinity, what would make you think that there wouldn't be some sort of connection or ties to that? That's bullshit. That's exactly what it is. What, are you in on it too, nigga? We gotta ask you some questions?
Difficult mental gymnastics to make that leap, right? That, hey,
Sometimes people make things harder than what it should be. I think there's no way. There is not even a little bit of jail time. It's not even like he got a short sentence. They sent that nigga to a therapist. Either they're black, either they got some dirt on somebody, or they cut a check.
hey, this is a town that
Can't convince me otherwise.
requires the college, needs the college to survive. It's very deep rooted into the system, that they're very much supportive of OSU for this whole kind of thing to be very close knit, and that's kind of what.
Right, and that literally supports what I just said.
That even it's now gotten the attention of one of Oklahoma's lawmakers, Representative J.J. Humphrey, who's also running for lieutenant governor. I'm actually going to be speaking with him later tonight, a little bit more details, but.
Yeah, and if you can, I don't know if you spoke with them already,
Damn.
but represent.
Damn, Jesse, get it out. Nigga sound like one of them niggas from SpongeBob. Me.
Running for lieutenant governor. I'm actually going to be speaking with him later tonight, a little bit more details, but.
Yeah, and if you can, I don't know if you spoke with them already, but Representative Humphrey is talking. My understanding is about a potential investigation into this. Is this true? Is there going to be a formal investigation into what happened here?
It sounds that way, yeah. He kind of looks at it from the same way. He was telling me that he's got a lot of background, in the court system and investigation before he got into politics. And he said, basically kind of the same thing that we were just talking about, that can he say definitively or can he prove right now that there's a connection? No, but his exact words, but it sure as hell smacks like it, And so he's like, it's worth an investigation. So he's thinking about, wanting to put a grand jury together to do an indictment possibly, the conversation we had, which we'll go a little bit more in depth in, I don't know if that could bring additional charges against Jesse, because when you look again at the litany of charges, there are some that should have been on there that weren't. Like, in my opinion, as not a lawyer, why he wasn't charged with attempted murder when one of the girls was
strangulation
for what he did, and
they
so
passed
those
out.
are kind of the conversations.
See, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Shout out to him. I didn't think about that. Why shouldn't it? Another thing. Not only did he sexually assault these women, he could have killed one of them. Literally, one of them passed out, and he has it on video. He has attempted murder on video in his phone. And we sent him to a...
He feels that not just Stillwater...
I didn't even think about that.
That entire county, Payne County, and then other places in Oklahoma, there's a lot of... he said it flat out. There's corruption, and he believes that this is no different than that. And it merits an investigation.
Joining us now to talk more about this case is Judge Brandon Birmingham from Dallas, Texas. Thank you, sir, for being with us here on Law and Crime. In this case, there's youthful offender status, which is what the defendant received in this case. Just first explain, I know this is something that you know well about in your district where you work as a judge. What is youthful offender status?
It is a status that's assigned really to those that are juveniles or on the cusp of being a juvenile, where the punishment for certain crimes is lesser than it would be for an adult. And they have certain programs, certain conditions under the law that the judge can order somebody to go through, and it's a little different for those that are younger than it is for adults.
How does that compare to, because in this case, the defendant was 18 years old at the time that this deal was reached. But it's not a situation where maybe he was 15 years old or 14 where this would be a...
So this nigga is an adult? Corruption. Nigga, this is like finding out that niggas is gambling in the NBA. This is evident. This is clear. Clearer than 4K. This is clear. So did he just say that he's 18?
The defendant was 18 years old at the time that this deal was reached. But it's not a situation where maybe he was 15 years old or 14 where this would be a juvenile case. How does the youthful...
So how does he... If he's 18, that makes him an adult. How does he get anything with the word youth in it, bitch? He's not a youth anymore. The nigga grown. Even if the nigga was 17, y'all still should have charged him as an adult. But he's an adult. How is he getting any charges or anything? Bro, this shit is just pissing me off more. I need to hurry up and roll this blunt.
Offender status
This is pissing me off
compared to
more
what
and
you
more.
might see in a juvenile case.
It's just a function of punishment. You know, I think there's the idea in assessing a punishment that
This is the craziest video I've
those
seen
that
in a
are
minute.
younger are more likely to make mistakes and need to learn from those mistakes, as opposed to somebody who's, let's say, in their mid-20s or maybe in their 30s, or that's an adult that we expect them to behave in a certain way. And there's maybe not laws that are written in a formula, but I think when considering what a person's punishment ought to be, somebody's age and experience has always been taken into account.
In this particular case, this was a no contest plea.
Sound like
So
he
this
said
was
a
a
whole bunch
deal
of
that
nothing.
was reached between the defense and the prosecution. For you as a judge, just when these cases go through, and what is your role in this? Because I think for there to be in a case like this where there is going to be criticism, and that's just the way it is, and I know with your job that there's always going to be criticism of the system in these types of cases. What is the job of a judge? What are you looking for if a prosecutor and a defense attorney come to you and say, we've reached this agreement that youthful offender status is what we're going to move forward with?
Well, the job of a judge really is to make sure that all of the processes are followed to a T, and that everybody, both sides has availed themselves to the opportunities under the law to be prepared and to have what they need in order to be prepared. So you're really at that point sort of an umpire that's just making sure that all the boxes have been checked. We do have the discretion and the ability to reject a plea, and if we reject a plea, then we don't get to just put our own stamp on it and say, I reject the plea and I'm going to sentence you to 50 years. Essentially what the rejection of a plea does is it takes everybody to square one and puts it on the trial docket. But that is an extraordinary remedy, and so what you're looking for at the plea is what information has led both sides to come to this agreement, and the judge has the ability, if they want to seek out that information. And because we do have the
Sounds
ability
like bullshit to me.
say, no, we're not going to accept
Doesn't it,
It's-
people?
It's unjust, or it's unfair, or the process hasn't been followed.
And in this case, Butler could have received...
Even when he asked, oh, what's the job of a judge? Nigga, that definition is too long. The job of a judge should be what? To find justice. That should be the point. Shouldn't be no all ins and out and all this extra ass shit. Like I said, there shouldn't even be all these loopholes in the system. If you do this, this will happen. If you steal, we cut your motherfucking hands off. If you EPAR and you do all of this, we either gonna cut your wee off in your nuts and hand them to your mama, or you gonna die. Like there should be no ins and outs, and maybe we could sit down and read this book and try to figure out a way to get. There should be all of that. The job of a judge is to send niggas to jail. That's it. That's their job, to send niggas to jail. I don't give a fuck about what definition you type up in Google. Woo. That's your job, bitch. Do it. Should have sent his ass to jail.
If
That's
the
what you should have
maximum,
did your
if he had
job.
gone
She
to
didn't do her
trial all
job,
the
so
way
fire her.
through, the maximum would have been roughly 70 years in prison.
He should have gotten.
Instead, through this youthful offender status, he is going to have a treatment plan that he has to go through with different requirements that he's going to have to meet. But you look at what he was accused of in this case, and it's very difficult to read through. It was violent. What are some of the factors that a prosecutor and and the defense attorney you're working with, when determining that youthful offender status is a good resolution for this? How does maybe violent tendencies, the threat of maybe reoffending, how does that go into whether or not this person would be a good candidate for this, as opposed to what could have been, the good majority of his life in prison?
Yeah, you're looking at a prediction of what you think might happen in the future, essentially. That's one component of assessing punishment or an outcome in a criminal case. And one of the ideas is that somebody's history will indicate how they're going to act in the future. And so when you're saying, okay, does this person deserve more, a lighter sentence or rehabilitation, you're asking yourself first, can they be rehabilitated? And is there still hope for them to be rehabilitated? That's one component of a very complicated and nuanced issue. The other one, of course, is what are the facts of the case? In other words, if somebody could commit a horrible crime, they might have all the potential to be rehabilitated, but the crime itself is such that maybe that they just need to be punished. And there's always that tension between what's best for the defendant on the one hand, what's best for society, and then, of course, what's best for the victim and what their voice is and how that voice is heard in the sentencing process. But all of it, to go back...
The only thing I heard out of that is society. And we think that the best thing to do for society is to allow this nigga to run loose amongst it. Y'all are dumb.
To your first question, the lawyers are assessing their cases, and there's strengths and weaknesses in every case. And allegations are allegations. You've got to eventually, if you're the prosecution, line up your proof and make sure that you're right.
See a lot of weak spots in that nigga's face.
You don't want to even go forward if you're not right.
See that.
And so I think plea bargains are also a function of the quality of proof by view of how the lawyers assess their case. And so, unfortunately, with a plea bargain, the public doesn't always have all of the information because there's no trial. And the trials, why I love trials so much is because you do get all the information. You get to see the witnesses, you get to judge their credibility, you get to see text messages or videos and all that. In a plea, the public really doesn't, so we are sort of left to speculate. But as a plea bargain, and somebody who's presided over thousands of them and done them myself, plea bargains are functions of proof and your assessment of how strong your case is, whichever side that you're on.
And this is a case, and I think when you read the allegations against this defendant, you hear, the victim impact statements. It's hard not to be emotional for what these girls had to go through. And I'm sure the judge who presided over this deal knew that there was probably going to be some criticism of it, considering there wasn't going to be 70 years or a period of time in adult prison because he's 18 years old. Not asking your opinion of the decision for this to be youthful offender status, but just as a judge,
ask
it's
him.
so rare that we get to actually talk to someone who's...
Why are we not asking him the appropriate questions? Why would you bring another judge on here to speak about an issue pertaining to another judge's decisions in the courtroom, but you don't want to ask him how he feels about the judge's decisions in the courtroom? So what's the point of you bringing him here? Ain't the point of him here to sit here and to tell us like, hey, yeah, she did what she was supposed to do, or nah, that bitch is tripping, right?
I'm in adult prison because he's 18 years old. Not asking your opinion of the decision for this to be youthful offender status, but just as a judge going to be 70 years or a period of time in adult prison because he's 18 years old. Not asking your opinion of the decision for this to be youthful offender status, but just as a judge, it's so rare that we get to actually talk to someone who sits in the chair. How do you deal with some of those deals that may come across that are public, that may have criticism of it, and knowing that you're presiding over something that's probably going to get a lot of heat from the public?
I don't know if it's just him. I'm pretty sure Jesse Weber would have asked that question. What is the purpose of having this? I'm not even.
And from people, yeah, there is probably information we don't know in this case, but you know that there's going to be a lot of frustration from the public when it goes through.
And I've been in that situation before.
Like, I don't even care to hear his answer because it's not going to give a fuck. His answer doesn't pertain to this. We want to know whether or not if he feels as if she made the right decision or if she didn't. And the fact that he didn't ask this question shows that he probably would have said, no, she's tripping. So, like, what do you not want to get in the middle of it? What is it going to affect your practice and what you got going on? Like, what is it? I'm not finna sit here and listen to his bald ass give me I don't care. Probably a great guy, but I don't care. That's not the question that we want an answer to.
We did something that was outside of our processes, and we have to be held accountable for that, and we should be.
Right.
There should be a transparency. I guess the line is that we could never be held accountable for a decision that we make within the realm of discretion. We can always be held accountable for decisions we make that are outside of that process, outside of the law, whether it's ex parte communications, bribery, things like that. That is where we can be held accountable. We can be held to answer for that. I think we're seeing now, there's a call for an discretion. We can always be held. I guess the line is that we could never be held accountable for a decision that we make within the realm of discretion. We can always be held accountable for decisions we make that are outside of that process, outside of the law, whether it's ex parte communications, bribery, things like that. That is where we can be held accountable. We can be held to answer for that. I think.
So basically what he's saying is the judge shouldn't be held accountable if she wasn't bribed, which can't be the case. But if she wasn't bribed in any way, shape, or form, and if for some way, all of this is legal, she chose to do this, she shouldn't be held accountable for this at all. Which makes it even worse. Because for what reason would you want this man that committed all of these heinous crimes to walk around freely for? So if she wasn't bribed, which would make it worse, he's saying that she shouldn't be held accountable because she did her job in the realms of whatever she was supposed to do. So he shouldn't be held accountable for making the decisions that he made, and she shouldn't be held accountable for not holding him accountable for his decisions, which is her fucking job. If she hadn't been bribed, if she wasn't bribed, that doesn't make it so much. None of this makes sense.
We're seeing now, there's a call for an investigation, I think, into some of, what caused this plea to happen in Oklahoma. And I would hope that to the extent that it can be transparent and accessible to the public, and I'm sure everybody involved is going to take that responsibility very seriously and justify why they did it, or at least make sure that there was nothing outside of that zone of discretion that played into this.
For Butler, once he finishes the treatment plan that he's going to be going through, is there any sort of monitoring of him that could continue on? Like, I think of someone who, if he was 26 years old, he goes to prison, he might be a registered sex offender when he comes out, and he has to follow those guidelines. In many states, it would be for the rest of your life. In a youthful offender status situation like this, once he finishes the treatment plan, what would happen next?
Well, if he finishes it successfully, he doesn't go to prison. I think that one of the parts of this is that he has to complete it, and if he doesn't, then he's looking at, I believe, up to 10 years in prison as a result of that. So there is some accountability for him to finish, but if he finishes it successfully, then he's off of what is very similar, I guess, to like a probation. He's off of that status, and he's free to live out the rest of his life.
Yeah. So this is another thing that she sucks something. She sucks that mom. She sucks something. Either she sucked something in that office, or she got bribed. There's no way one of the two didn't. She sucked something. She sucked some. This nigga got probation, therapy, and probation. Therapy
And
she
and
sucks
obviously
up.
too, I mean, anytime you Google his name, for the rest of his life, there's a weight that comes with that because he will be associated, with this case, which is so difficult to hear. When it comes to recidivism rates, and I know that that's always a big topic of conversation. I mean, how effective, not speaking in terms of this case, but just generally speaking, are these youthful offender status cases?
Well, they can be very effective. In the right environment and for the right crime. I actually started a youthful offenders program here in Dallas, and it was geared towards those 17 to 25-year-olds that did dumb things when they were 17 to 25. And I don't mean to say that this is one of those things. They're geared towards certain crimes, but with the right
youth
environment, you try to.
So youth is 17 to 25. That's the youth, nigga. I thought the youth was anything below 18. I thought that was the youth. I thought the minors were the youth. I didn't know what?
To seek out the root causes of the problems.
I guess.
That could be substance abuse, that could be mental health, and if you can treat those problems, then you go a long way towards making sure this doesn't happen again. But that it should not be used as a way to get out from under accountability and punishment in the appropriate circumstance. So it's that tension that we talked about right at the very beginning. What's best for the defendant, what's best for the public, and of course, what's best for the victim. And they're having their day in court as well.
Like this conversation is meaningless. And he got this stern ass face, like he's just doing the thing, and he just asking good. You've asked bullshit questions. Bring back Jesse Weber. Probably a great guy. Sucky questions. Your questions sucked just as much as she probably... Sucky questions, man. This whole conversation, look at them both stern, like, yeah, like, I answered that. Like, none of that did anything for us. All we wanted you to tell us, Judge, was whether or not if she made the appropriate decision in your eyes. Or what would you have done? What is that against? If that's against the law, or if that's something that he's not allowed to do, considering he's in the same practice, then somebody type in the comments and let me know, because I'm not fucking Albert Einstein. I don't know everything. I don't know. But I highly doubt it. Whole conversation. We just wasted like 15, 20 minutes listening to these niggas talk. You should just showed us the body cam footage and let us do it, and we could have been out of here. Pointless. This conversation sucked. This is just stupid conversation. Not stupid, but it's just like it. Far better questions could have been asked. That's it. I'm gonna holler at y'all though. Matter of fact, we gonna hold on. Let me skip through and see what's going on. Well, nothing's going on. We already know what happened. He didn't go to jail, so yeah, I'm out.